Composition, one of the core pillars in photography and videography, yet I think it's way too often overlooked in video. What's up guys, it's Nick DiJuno here, back with another tutorial. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we are talking about composition. In a world so focused on color grading and crazy transitions, I feel like we often get lost in that kind of stuff and we kind of tend to forget about composition. It's like a really important thing that I think we should be paying more attention to. And so today, I'm gonna show you guys a couple tips on how to get better composition in your videos. So really, I mean, you can frame your shot however you want, right? That's what's cool about doing this kind of thing. There's no right and wrong way. Photo and video is like, it's really subjective and it's up to you. But there is a scientifically proven set of guidelines, like the rule of thirds, that kind of add a certain aesthetic to your photos that make it more appealing to the majority of people. So the rule of thirds, I'm not gonna get into it right now. If you guys don't know what it is, I highly recommend you check it out. It's like one of the most basic things about photography. When you see those lines, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 4 lines that break your screen up into 9 different parts. All right. Anyway, this video isn't meant to teach you what composition is. It's just meant to enhance the composition of the look you're already going for. So a few things that you can implement right now to improve the look of your video. So tip number 1 is to take more photos. Before you master the art of composing a moving shot, a moving subject, it might make sense to start with a still image. One frame that you can kind of take your time to compose, get it in line how you want to, and that's a good way to kind of like gauge what kind of composition you like. Because like I said, everyone has their own thing. So I definitely think photography is like hugely beneficial to improving the composition, lighting, really everything a videographer does. If you're also a photographer, that's gonna help you do that. Boop. Of course, you can start with video and get really good at it, but I think photography is really good practice for framing. Because it's like you only got one shot, right? You got one frame to compose well and to give off the look and the vibe you're going for. So photography, I think, is really good practice, really in all aspects when it comes to videography. So tip number 2 is to master the art of the pan and twist motion. Maybe there's some technical term to this. I don't really know. I just know that I do it and I kind of like how it turns out. I think most people do it. It's not like the easiest maneuver to like nail, but I think it's pretty essential, and once you get that down, your framing from beginning to end of each clip is going to improve dramatically. It's just a dramatic video here. The point of this action, this whole like pan and twist, or I don't even know, is that what I called it? Pan and twist? This pan and twist thing, the point of it is to maintain the original framing in the beginning of the clip all the way until the end. But what's cool about it is since you are rotating, since there is movement going on, you can keep your subject, let's say you want them in the right third. You can keep them in the right third the whole time, but you can change the setting, you can change the background, you can change the angle that their face is pointing towards the camera, but you can kind of keep the same framing you started with. So it's really cool. It's kind of like a way to get like a still frame, but it's moving and it's sort of dynamic. In my opinion, a tool that makes this whole pan and twist movement way easier, way smoother, just way better is a gimbal, or I guess like a glide cam kind of setup. I've never used that. I use gimbals, but that's like the best thing I think to get this movement. If you don't have that, like no stress, don't worry about it. Like you can totally get it handheld. This is gonna be a little tougher. It's you might have to stay in kind of tight, whereas a gimbal, you can kind of like actually walk as you're panning. You can cover more distance, I think, with a gimbal because you're limiting the shake and everything like that. Like if you're doing it handheld, you might kind of only have like, the range from like one leaning position to the next without actually like walking and picking up your feet. And I can't really explain that. Now, like I said, this isn't like the easiest movement to pull off. So what I recommend to do is like, I don't know, you could just hang out in your room or something. You don't have to be anywhere like super crazy, but throw your camera on a gimbal or in your hands if that's all you got, and just practice doing this pan and twist on just like a non-moving object. Just like, I don't know, a microphone, another camera, a freaking water bottle. It really doesn't matter. Just stand in your room and try to master this pan and twist motion. Really, like you're kind of timing up the pan with like the rate at which you are twisting the camera to stay locked onto the object. And whatever. It requires practice, so do that. So by the time you do go into the field, you're ready and you got it. And it really is like, it's mind-muscle connection. Like, you'll get to the point where you don't even have to think about how fast you need to like twist your hands or move your body or anything like that. Like, the faster you start panning, the faster you're gonna start twisting, like automatically. It's kind of cool. It's not that cool, but yeah, whatever. Tip number 3 is to pay attention to what is in your background and your foreground. And by that, I mean not the obvious stuff, but kind of things that are like really close to the camera or really far away. Things that can kind of like hug your subject and kind of help frame your subject. So you're not just worrying about this rectangular box that you're always shooting through. If you want to shoot through like a circle, you can try to get it such that your subject is looking at you through like a hole in a tree, or they're kind of shrouded by leaves. And so you can kind of change the framing from just a rectangular or square framing to really whatever you want, just by adding cool things in the background and foreground. And this really looks awesome when you're using like a low aperture lens, so like, I don't know, 1.4, 1.8, even like an f4 or something. If you're close enough to the lens, it kind of really blurs out that object. And the funny part about that is you can use anything. Like, you can use the edge of your sweater, or you can use some leaves or some sticks or whatever. And when you put that in front of the lens, you really can't tell what it is, but it looks pretty because it's all like blurred out and stuff. Tip number 4 is to shoot on a zoom lens. And now, primes do have their options. They're usually sharper, they're usually a little bit smaller and lighter and compact, but I think zoom lenses are awesome for video because you can get a series of shots, you know, maintain the lighting that you have, you're not switching out lenses and all that kind of stuff. You can get a whole series of shots, wide, tight, medium, by just zooming in your lens. And you don't have to be running around like a maniac switching lenses and like taking a bunch of steps back and forward to try to get your subject in frame. I think zoom lenses are not only really convenient, but I don't know, it's kind of, they're just like really convenient. Now, there is definitely an argument to be made, and it has been made before, to shoot only on primes. There are tons of people that only shoot prime lenses because, like I said, they are sharper and technically they're a little bit better quality. And on top of that, when you're using prime lenses, it is going to force you to move your body a lot more. So instead of just zooming in to get your subject in frame, maybe you switch a lens, or maybe you only have 1 or 2 primes to work with, and so you really have to move around to find that shot. And in doing so, in sort of moving closer to your subject, maybe something else catches your eye because you're changing up your whole scene when you kind of move from your position. So, you know, there's an argument to be had for primes only, but I think whether you're starting out or not, zooms are awesome. And zooms are getting so sharp nowadays. I mean, I'm using a 24-105 f4 for Sony, and this thing is like crazy sharp. And there are sharper lenses, but especially when you upload to YouTube, I don't even know if it's gonna make that much of a difference, so I don't know. I guess it is a personal thing. I recommend zoom lenses. All right, guys, tip number 5, the last tip for today, is to shoot in 4K. Now, when you shoot in 4K, the biggest thing is like, okay, you have better resolution and everything like that, like it's cleaner and everything, but if you're outputting in 1080p, if you're working in a 1080p timeline, then 4K is going to allow you, similar to a zoom lens, it's going to allow you to crop in after the fact. So if you kind of miss your framing to begin with, that's all right, because you can kind of crop in, you can change your framing a little bit, you have that advantage when you shoot in 4K, and you don't lose any resolution, so long as you don't go past, like, if 100% is your full 4K, full frame clip, you can zoom in double that, so you can punch in 200%, and that is technically 1080p. Most people kind of do that. I try to stay under that, actually. You do start to notice a quality difference after you go to like 175, 180, and it also depends how sharp your focus is. So if you nailed your focus like spot on in 4K, you can definitely get away with a 2x zoom. Sometimes you can actually even push it a little bit further if you need to, but if you didn't like totally nail the focus, then it's kind of like a toss-up. I don't know, just play with it, but 4K is cool. The only problem with 4K is like I use a Sony a7 III and I can't do any slow motion in 4K. I think like 30 frames per second is the limit, and a lot of cameras don't do slow motion in 4K right now. Ironically enough, the freaking new iPhones do like 60 FPS 4K. I think they've been doing that for a couple years too, which is just like mind-blowing. Like that's a crazy, crazy spec. So guys, that is it for today. Those are my top 5 tips for a better composition in video. So obviously there are like way more tips out there for better framing, better composition, all that kind of stuff. These were just like watered down top 5 quick and easy things that I think most people can implement right away. Unless you don't have a zoom lens and you don't have 4K, I don't know, man. Figure it out. You don't have to figure it out. Do what works for you. I hope you can use at least some of the tips I gave to you today. If you want more tips down the road for camera stuff, video, photo, subscribe to my channel. I think I've been doing pretty good, man. This is like my 2nd video in like 2 weeks or something. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for me, so I'm proud of that. Subscribe for more. If you guys liked it, like it please. Drop a like, it does help. If you didn't like it, don't hit the dislike button, please. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you didn't like or tell me what you did like. And that'll allow me to continue to make these videos better and better every time I upload. So maybe one day, one of you just gets the perfect video. But that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching, and maybe I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Tip number 5, this is my last tip, guys. So, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go soon. I'm gonna have to say goodbye to you guys, like, soon. Oh my God, until the next video. But like, seriously, this is my last tip. I don't even know. I won't say that. Cut that out, huh? Tip number 4. What, dude? What? Maybe I'll show you. I don't know. And I feel like YouTubers are just bullies. Like, they're just bullying the people who watch their videos to like and subscribe and contribute to their Patreon and use their affiliate links. Like, they're just a bunch of bullies.